I'm in a new spot and my sounding bowl didn't make the journey. So if I can do this. Sorry, that's what we have right now.
Oh, is that it?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ann Scarborough, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees here at South Valley UU Society. My pronouns are she and hers. Come whoever you are welcome here. No matter your age, your size, the color of your eyes, your hair, your skin, you are welcome here. No matter your gender, whom you love, how you speak, or whatever your abilities, you are welcome here. You are welcome here whether you come with laughter in your heart or tears in your eyes. You are welcome here. No matter what you have experienced in your past, no matter what awaits you in the future, you are welcome here. Whether you believe in God all of the time or some of the time or none of the time, you are welcome here. This is a community of open minds, loving hearts, and willing hands. You are welcome here at South Valley Unitarian Universalist Society.
Good morning, everyone. I also welcome you to South Valley Unitarian Universalist Society as we continue to meet online. All are welcome here, as Ann Scarborough just said. My name is Reverend Karen Madrone, and I am the interim minister here this year. My pronouns are she and hers. I would like to draw your attention to two upcoming services before I begin. And next Sunday is a service that honors long-term members, RE teachers, and many of our lay leaders who are moving on from their positions. So I encourage you in particular to come to that service. And then the following service, Sunday, June 7th, is a very big deal because we are doing a multi-congregation service with all the other UU congregations in Utah. This is very exciting. We are all collaborating on doing a multi-congregation service online for Pride, knowing that we could not all physically be together, but we are still going to be together online, and then there will be a breakout session afterwards for people to get to know each other in a different way. So I'm excited about that. Hold those two dates in your calendar because those are going to be very big, exciting dates for us together. I would like to begin with a call to worship that is written by Beth Lefevre. It is called We Are Whole. We are whole even in the broken places, even where it hurts. We are whole even in the broken places, the places where fear impedes our full engagement with life, where self-doubt corrupts our self-love, where shame makes our faces hot and our souls cold. We are whole even in those places where perfectionism blunts the joy of full immersion into person, place, activity, where, quote, good enough does not reside except in our silent longings, where our gaps must be fast filled with substance, accomplishment, or frenzied activity, lest they gape open and make us feel disgusted. We are whole where we would doubt our own goodness, richness, fullness, and depth, where we would doubt our own significance, our own profoundness. We are whole even in our fragility, even where we feel fragmented, alone, insubstantial, insufficient. We are whole even as we are in process, even as we stumble, even as we pick ourselves up again, for we are whole. We are whole. This morning, our gathering song number 336 will be sung and performed by Jane and Marion Moffett. And Scarborough will put the lyrics in the chat box if you would like to sing along.
Can you hear me? All my memories of laughing upon high stars, all the souls I lost to tears that the autumn jars, and the air around me here thickens with their song. Sing again their nameless tunes, sing again and strong. Willows in September touch the water clear, set among the rushes tall of the flowing year. Rising up from sunlit past comes the shallow side, running toward me silently, left to fortify. Many are the graceful hearts hung upon this tree, and it seems there's room for mine on these branches free. And the sky above the tree where the azure bright is my ease and comforting, my good news and light. Ann Scarborough is going to put the chalice lighting words in the chat box. If you have a small candle or chalice of your own, we welcome you to light it with us. Stephen is going to unmute everyone.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
Good morning, y'all.
Hi, Rick.
Okay.
Hi.
We light this chalice for the warmth of love, for the light of
Light of
truth,
truth
And for the
energy of action.
I'm going to use this thing.
My name is Maxwell Harrell, and I am today's lay worship leader. The pronouns I use are he, him. I would like to welcome you this morning to South Valley Unitarian Universalist Society. We are an intentionally diverse religious community. All are welcome here. We would like to extend
Sorry, Max. I muted you while I was muting everybody else.
It's fine. Where should I start off?
Where you left off. One sentence ago.
Okay. We would love to get to know you. Our greeter today, Ann Scarborough, is going to drop our connection card into the chat box for any of our newcomers so that you can be connected to our community. This is a caring, supportive community. During this time of physical distancing, we are working to be creative in how we take care of each other. A group of members are actively reaching out to folks in our community and will continue to do so while we are in this pandemic. The pastoral care card has been put on our website and is in the link that Anne is going to put in the chat box. All of our online services are intergenerational. Summer religious exploration is coming up soon. To find out more about the RE classes, review the Happenings newsletter and contact Rebecca Britt, the Director of Religious Education, at her email address that Anne is going to put in the chat box. To keep updated on activities that are a part of South Valley community, we encourage you to use the Google Calendar on the South Valley website. If there are activities that you know of that are not on the calendar, or if you would like to host a group gathering, please use the reservation form on the website. Although we are physically separate, we are still connected. After today's service, there will be a 10-minute break and we will have a fellowship time together. We will be staying in the same Zoom room. We will now share the warmth of community. Please take this time to say hello to each other in the chat box. Please say where you are joining us from. You will also be unmuted.
Hello.
No.
Howdy.
Hello.
Howdy.
Hi.
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 There is everybody. Hi.
Oh,
You see us?
Hello.
No, you can say it out loud. Like everybody's hair colors.
We're all growing up.
Right?
For those of us on the phone, that's kind of an interesting comment to make.
Connie. Hi, Ellen.
Fine today.
How are you?
Hello.
It's lovely to see all your faces even this way.
I know.
Yes.
Actually, they're pretty good with it. It's not too bad with the Zoom.
Yes.
Get used to it.
Hi, Anna and Zach.
Yeah, you know
Hi,
what?
Sophia.
You
And your cat. Okay, Stephen. I think that
You need to unmute yourself, Rebecca.
I unmuted myself, but then I went mute again. Hello. I'm going to do the time for all ages. I'm feeling really happy right now because I get to see all of you, but I'm also feeling a little nervous at the same time. And so this is a book about having lots of emotions at once. It's called The Color Monster. It's by Anna Lanus. And so this is about a monster who has big feelings. Remember, having big feelings never makes you a monster. This is the color monster. Today he woke up feeling confused, and he doesn't know why. Are you all mixed up again, color monster? Your emotions don't always work well when they're all jumbled up. Look at all these different colors. I bet each of them is an emotion that he's feeling right now. You should try to separate them and put one in each in its own jar. If you like, I can help you. Let's make sense of how you feel. Off they go. And look, it looks like Color Monster's feelings are so big, it feels like they're outside of him. This is happiness. We're seeing a picture of the color monster, and it looks like he feels yellow. There's yellow all over him. It shines yellow like the sun and twinkles like the stars. He has a big smile on his face. When you're happy, you laugh and jump and dance and play. You want to share your happiness with everyone. And look, as he goes around, everything else is becoming yellow. There's birds, and the girl is smiling too, who is asking him questions. This is sadness. It's lonely and blue like a rainy day. It washes you like the sea. Now, Claire Monster's blue and so is everything around him. He has a bit of a frown. When you're sad, you want to hide and be alone. You don't want to do anything except maybe cry. It's okay to cry, Color Monster. Color Monster is hiding over here. We can barely see him. He's in a little fishbowl. This is anger. It burns red like fire, and it's hard to stamp out. The whole page is red. That's how big his feeling is. When you're angry, life can feel unfair. His arms are crossed, and he's like, oh, he's feeling really bad. Sometimes you want to take your anger out on others. Huge splash of red is big feelings. But I'll be nice to you, Color Monster, and your anger will disappear. That might help. Sometimes you need bigger help. This is fear. It hides and runs away like a mouse at night. The Color Monster looks so small and gray, and there's all sorts of black branches. I'd be so scared if I was in that situation. When you're afraid, you feel tiny. You think you don't have the courage to face the gray shadows, but I can help you find your way. This is calm. It's quiet like the trees and as light as the green leaves swaying in the wind. Color Monster's green and so is everything else. And he's by some beautiful plants. When you're calm, you breathe slowly and deeply. You feel at peace. Now you can rest, Color Monster. All your feelings are in the right place. See, don't you feel much better? And so on this page, we see Colored Monster's feelings are all still there, but he just knows what they're called now. And they're in different areas. Uh-oh, I see you're feeling something new. You look different, Color Monster. Can you tell me how you feel now? Here's Color Monster again, a brand new color. Color Monster is pink and smiling with pink flowers and pink hearts. You know, it doesn't say what his feeling is. If you want, put in the chat box, what do you think the Color Monster is feeling right now? Can you tell from his smiling face and the warm colors? Oh, I liked that book a lot. Thank you so much for listening. And that's our time for all ages for this Sunday.
That was a lovely book, Rebecca. So for our prayer, I would like to begin with just a moment of silence. And usually that is hard to do in person, but we're accustomed to it. But I'd like to just try a little bit together here on our online presence. And I know that sometimes that's challenging because people want to fill in the space, but just acknowledge and just hold a space of silence where you are for now. Thank you all for holding that space with me. I'd like to pray a prayer written by my colleague, Reverend Karen Johnson, and I have adapted it slightly. We raise up this annual day of memorial, noting those who have died in wars, those still being waged all around the world, those long brought to an end, and all in between. In remembering the sacrifices made by those who have died in war, let us all bear witness to the other ravages of war, manifested in body, psyche, and spirit. Let us whisper a relentless prayer of peace for all nations, that there might one day be a day when there are no war dead. We pray safety and protection for all essential workers everywhere, for all workers in these weeks of reopening, especially for those who do not feel safe returning to work, but must do so nonetheless. May they have access to all the necessary protections. We pray for wisdom for all leaders making decisions that impact the health of others in the midst of this pandemic. May no leader buckle under the pressure to reopen prematurely or without thorough discernment about the consequences for those most vulnerable. We pray for nearing the unbelievable mark of 100,000 deaths from the coronavirus in this country and 341,000 in the world. May their spirits know peace. May their families know comfort. We pray that the health discrepancies that reveal yet again the presence of systemic racism and economic inequalities in our society be given equitable attention and treatment. We give thanks for the careful and thoughtful decisions being made within our own religious association and our congregational leaders, even as such decisions touch sadness and loss in us. Their hard work is an act of love of all congregants and their worthy lives. May we hold all of this loss and sadness together during this interlude played by Rick Novus.
It is our practice at South Valley to share our Sunday worship offerings with a charitable organization that aligns with our principles and values. For May and June, we have selected the Navajo and Hopi Families COVID-19 Relief Fund. This organization, founded and operated by Indigenous community organizers, is responding to the health crisis by raising funds and organizing deliveries of groceries, water, and health supplies directly to vulnerable Navajo and Hopi leaders, elders, and their families. South Valley now has an app for giving. We have an account on Givelify. This allows South Valley to continue receiving funds to support work of the South Valley community during this pandemic. You are invited to give using the link that Anne is going to put in the chat box, or you can go to your phone and download the app. Using this app will help South Valley tremendously during this time of physical distance. Anne is going to put our offering words in the chat box. Let us read these words together. We are this church. We are its hands, its heart, its voice. Together, we share the wealth of this community and sustain it with our gifts.
Thank you, Rick. That was really beautiful. I'd like everybody to put out their hands. I know that we may not all see each other, but we're just knowing we're putting out our hands, and we're going to put a blessing on today's offering. For all we have received and all we have found the courage to give, may we be truly thankful. May these gifts be a blessing to South Valley and to the Navajo and Hopi Families COVID-19 Relief Fund. Thank you all.
Hello. Before I start giving my sermon, I want to say that this is the book that kind of inspired me to do it. It's titled The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. It's been a favorite book of mine for a while now, ever since I got it for Christmas from my grandma. Expressing our emotions is a complex task. To the people who can feel every aspect of their sadness, anger, or fear, I envy you. We think as a population that showing our anger, sadness, or any negative emotion is weak or out of control. Not feeling emotions is the expectation. But when taken to the extreme, others begin to fear you. You don't just randomly feel upset, something caused it. If you need to be alone to feel your stronger emotions, that's completely okay. Don't ever ignore how you feel. Emotions are what make us human. Sometimes it's not safe for you to express how you feel. So you can take your time to find a safe place for you and become grounded. To quote from the book earlier, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse, it says, "Isn't it odd? We can only see our outsides, but nearly everything happens on the inside." The boy says this to the mole as they are looking into the lake and see their reflection. This speaks to the fact that people can see the outside, but they don't know what is actually going on inside the person's head. Emotions are a complex theory, and we still don't fully understand them. We can never know exactly how someone feels just by looking at them. Our emotions can be delicate, but at the same time, they can be overpoweringly strong. So treat them with care. Navigation of your emotions can be hard and stressful, and for every person, the navigation of their emotions is personal and can be extremely complex, and in some cases, very difficult. For example, when I moved to Utah, I was very nervous and upset. I bottled up those emotions, and I reached my limit about a month later and earned my first therapy visit. I didn't learn how to prevent the bottling up of my emotions until recently, and since then, I've yet to reach my limit, and I'm able to identify and express my emotions properly. Thank you.
When Max and I began thinking about this service a couple of months ago, we actually began talking about it before the pandemic, actually, I think back in February or something. And I realized that it was actually going to fall on Memorial Day weekend, a time that is traditionally set aside to honor veterans who have died in wars. This was a time set aside many decades ago to acknowledge and reflect on the lives lost to war. Over the years, there has been a tendency to overlook what this weekend was created for, and instead to focus on it as the beginning of the official kickoff of summer. While kicking off summer has its value, it is nice for us humans. We like to have points in time that separates one period of time for another. I still think it's important to take time to acknowledge loss and sadness. UU congregations have begun to do this in the fall with All Souls Day, but in particular this spring, I thought it was important to lift up the reality that as of today, 97,059 people have died in the United States of COVID-19. 97 of them in Utah, 68 of them specifically in Salt Lake County. Because the numbers are too big for most human minds to make sense of, the front page of today's New York Times and the following pages has the names of everyone who has died of this horrible virus just in the United States. Many of these people are given one-sentence descriptions, such as disability rights activist, loved to play with her grandchildren, liked his bacon and hash browns crispy, sharecropper's son, and ballroom dancing star. There are many more of these descriptions. I encourage you to go find either the paper itself or online on their app or their website. It's really an amazing piece of work that they have put into this. I really appreciate that they took the time to help their readers make the connections between the numbers and real people. Each person represents by these deaths. The loss of these last few months is incomprehensible. These numbers are too big for most of us to really make sense of. Since we are not seeing here in Utah the massive numbers that other large cities have experienced, it's hard for us to wrap our minds around this, but more importantly, our hearts, around the impact of these deaths. Many, many more people have recovered from the coronavirus, and many of those have damage to their heart, liver, and lungs. I myself have several friends who have recovered from this disease, for which I am grateful. Some of you might too. We humans, we like to turn away from sadness. The United States in particular is a death-phobic culture. Somehow we think that death will not come to us, but in fact, it will. None of us will escape that. I truly believe that our bodies hold on to unprocessed trauma, and eventually, one day, when we least expect it, the sadness comes out. Even for me, writing the descriptions this morning of how these people were described makes me choke up. It's, even though I don't personally know them, it taps into a deeper sadness that each of us carries. In writing this homily, the work of Pema Chodron, a Buddhist nun, came to mind. In one of her books, she talks about how she was invited to attend a silent retreat many, many years ago when she first started her practice. At the time, her life was really busy and chaotic, so she thought this would be a truly restful and restorative silent retreat. At the time, she needed just a break from everything that was happening in her life. But once she got there, she realized that by not interacting with anyone else other than to get food and the normal things that happen in a silent retreat space, she realized that she had no devices or anything else of any kind to distract her. And the only thing she could do was be with herself. She was the only thing left to actually be a part of or to notice and pay attention to. And that was the hardest thing she had ever done. She learned how to stay in her own sadness after a lot of resistance, because we like to resist all of these negative things. She allowed herself to finally feel it, to go into it, to feel her fear, acknowledge her own insecurities, because she had nowhere else to turn. There was nothing else happening except just being with herself. Unfortunately for some of us who, myself and my wife, it is just us and our dog. So there's a lot of time for that acknowledging, oh, this is what's happening for me. For some of you who are quarantining with family members, small children, you might not get that opportunity to really know what this is what's happening. But I encourage you to be able to take that time how you can, even if it's just writing in the journal, noticing what is coming up for you, especially during this quarantine. In my second chaplaincy unit, I remember having a conversation with one of my cohort members. We had to do this processing with each other. It was this very intense time. I was telling her about something that happened that day, and I said, I'm trying not to cry. And I think I've said that to some of you when I've told you about things, or in some of my previous sermons where I've tried not to cry. And she said, there are no prizes for not crying. Not crying doesn't make you a better person. It just means you're not allowing yourself to let your feelings out. Her wisdom let me notice when I'm feeling sad and reminds me to go into the sadness instead of shutting it down. I haven't seen Maya now in over a year. I saw her around this time when I left New York, but I still hold her in my heart as that reminder, there are no prizes for not crying. You might as well just feel it and let that out. Right now, we need our spiritual groundedness practices more than ever. I encourage you to take even more time to meditate, to pray, to listen to music, whatever it is that brings you peace and joy. I encourage you to remember what Max was talking about feeling the feelings, staying in them, and noticing the wisdom that Max shared with us about his own experiences and life experiences. May you notice, may you pay attention, and to feel what is coming up for you in your life during this time. Here, especially as we recognize Memorial Day, we're recognizing the past wars and the fighting that is still happening. And right now, we are also paying attention to all of those who have died from the coronavirus. Blessings to each of you. And let us move on and hear our final song from Jane and Maren Moffat. They're going to sing number 66, When the Summer Sun is Shining. Anne is going to put the lyrics in the chat box. And since all of you have been sitting during the service, I encourage you all to stand and feel the energy, much like if you were sitting in our service, in our worship, in our building, in our sanctuary. Stand up and feel the music coming through you. Feel what it feels like to stand up and be together, even if we are separated virtually. Go ahead and begin your song, Jane and Maren.
When the summer sun is shining over golden land and sea, and the flowers in the hedgerow welcome butterfly and bee, then my open heart is glowing, full of warmth for everyone, and I feel an inner beauty which reflects the summer sun. When the suns summer thunder bring the long-awaited rain, and the thirsty soil is moistened and the grass is green again, then I long for summer sunshine, but I know that clouds and tears are a part of life's refreshment, like the rainbow's hopes and fears. In the cool of summer evening, when the dancing insects play, and in garden, street, and meadow linger echoes of the day, then my heart is full of yearning, hopes and memories flood the whole of my being, reaching inwards to the corners of my soul.
Anne Scarborough is going to put the chalice extinguishing words in the chat box. You are invited to stand and say our chalice extinguishing words together. We extinguish this chalice, but not the warmth of community, the light of truth, or the energy of action. We hold each other in our hearts until we meet again.
As we go forward into the rest of our week, even though we continue to be separate, let us hold the knowledge that we are all surrounded in love. We are one and we are loved wherever we are. Our community still exists and we are still supporting and loving each other even from apart. Thank you all, and please stick around after our recording. Our service is now finished and Stephen can turn off the recording now.